So before I start my Q&A session, just want to say one very quick thing, and that's a big thank you to everyone who's been watching the videos this year. It's been the biggest sort of year of growth for the channel, and I just really want to say a big thank you to everyone who's followed that by watching and showing your support by commenting and also subscribing as well. Now I'm getting really close to 500 subscribers. That's my next sort of big goal for the channel. Once that happens, I've got a few things sort of in the head that I want to start doing. I really want to get almost do it as a celebration for 500 subscribers. So please do me a favour. If you're one of the 97% of people who aren't subscribed to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. It really just helps support me and show people are enjoying the channel and people actually want to watch more of the channel as well. So hello and welcome to another Thursday's Four Wheels. As you can see, I'm out in the B class today, and it's just going to be a bit of a sit and a chat video. Purely because a few weeks ago I asked about if anybody had any questions for me. I've been wanting to sort of a Q&A for a little while now. I haven't done one for probably well over a year now. And I had a few people ask me different questions. I thought today we'd just go through questions and I'll give you some answers to them. So the first question I'm going to get out of the way is the one that I sort of feel like I've been asked the most. And that is all to do with the SL. Now the SL hasn't been featured very much. I sort of keep putting the odd posts on my social media, but obviously it hasn't been on the channel for a while, mainly because it hasn't been here. As you know, if you watch some of my previous videos, I've been gone off to the SL shop. They've basically I've asked them to do sort of a few different things on it, but the main sort of three things I wanted to do was sort of the hot start issue. So essentially, when the car, if you went out somewhere, for example, the engine warms up. If you were to leave the car for 10 minutes and get back in and try and start the car again, it struggles to start. It would eventually start, but it was obviously struggling. Obviously, something's not right there. So I've gone and had a look at that. They've sorted that issue out now. The other issue was with the dash, which made a very annoying buzzing sound. And basically, what that was is when you, say, for example, turn the engine off and maybe try and exit the car, but maybe leave your lights on, it sort of makes a buzzing sound. And that's sort of obviously happens in most cars. The only problem that was sort of reversed. The relay sort of switched. I think it was the relay was broken in, and basically doing it every time it shouldn't have been. So it was doing it even when the lights weren't on, even when the lights were on. Everything. It's basically doing it all the time, bar when you turn the ignition off or when you put the indicators on. So that was the sort of issue with the dash. There was also a few of the dials weren't working. As I mentioned, the odometer wasn't working. So it all got sent off to a specialist to be rebuilt. Essentially, they took it out and they found it was a bit of a mess. So it sort of took the decision just actually let's get it all stripped back and let's get it refurbished and rebuilt basically from scratch. So still got all the original parts in there. That's all been done now. Fitted back in the car. They've tested it. It all works. I won't go too much into everything that's happened on the SL because there's been quite a bit that they've done, and they've written it all down for me on the invoices and stuff. So I'd rather go through it when I've got those in my hand, and that'll probably be a separate video when the SL does come back. Second part of that question then is when it's due back. Now we have been communicating a little bit this last week, and they're basically saying they're literally so close now. We're probably looking at all the things they've done. A couple of things left to do. We're 95% of the way there. So I'm hoping even next week or the week after, I'll be able to pick the SL back up. I'm hoping I've got a couple of sort of Fridays off. I'm trying to use some holidays at work. So I'm hoping I'll be able to go over on a Friday or maybe a Saturday. And I know the workshop will be open on Saturday, but I've discussed that with them and pick up the car. So that would be really nice to get the car back. I think once that car is back, then I'll really be excited about doing some of this stuff like the interior cleaning. I know a few people have asked me about that. A few people commented about that they really want to see that interior get a little bit more tidied up. In terms of work that I'm going to be doing going forward, again, the mechanicals are all going to be done. So there'll be a few little bits and pieces I can do. Might possibly look at doing spark plugs and maybe change the air filter and a few little things like that, but I'll go into that maybe in the next video. But yes, really excited to get the SL back and to get stuck into it now. It's been away for the best part of 3 months now, and I've only had it for about 4 months now. So I'm quite excited to get it back. It's been away more than I've actually had it with me, which is really odd for a car. Normally I'll send it off to a workshop, might stay a couple of days maybe, and I'll get it back, maybe a week tops. Never quite had a car going away for a few months, but the SL shop are really doing a great job, and it's a real thorough job. And I think for a lot more of the specialist jobs that I wanted them to do and really assess the car and how good of the car it was, I think they've done a fantastic job on that. So next very cheeky question I got asked from my friend Eddie, who runs his own YouTube channel called Soul Engine, which was previously known as the Motor Channel, just changed the name of it. And we did the Cotswolds tour together, so he was in my older SLK, I was in my newer one. If you haven't seen the video, please make sure you go and check out my video, and Eddie also did a video on it as well, so make sure you check out that and subscribe to his channel while you're there. His channel's Soul Engine, but it used to be That Motor Show. And he asked me a very cheeky question, which was, who has been your favourite person to do a YouTube collaboration with? Which is quite ironic because he's the only person that I've done, so that's quite a leading question, that one. I didn't like it. I like your style though. I met up with Eddie yesterday. We have been talking a bit about YouTube. We sort of discussed ideas. We're both sort of similar level. We're just sort of starting out. We're starting to build up a few more subscribers, so it's quite interesting having the sort of conversation and what do you reckon he wants to take his channel in, what do you reckon I want to take my channel in. We are hopefully going to be doing another little bit of a collaboration next year as well. We've got a few ideas floating around for that at the moment. The next question: what am I planning to do with the cars next year? So the B-Class still being used pretty much every day. It's out in all weathers. It's just such a useful car, this one. I can sort of do anything. It's quite economical. Throw anything into the back, put the dogs in there, and still sleep 5 people. Which is what I really wanted. Much I love my SLKs and the SL, not the most practical cars in the world. So this is definitely going to be keeping on the fleet for now. It's just far too useful, basically. The new SLK is still here. Hopefully I'll be getting that sold very soon. Yeah, not much else to say about that. I've already done a video on why I'm selling that one. That's hoping to get sold soon. The older SLK, that's still staying, as I've sort of explained in other videos. I've only got sort of so little money in that, and I know probably £2.5 is probably sort of a lot of money for some people, but in the big wide world of cars and the big world of Mercs, that's not a lot of money for a properly well sorted Mercedes. I'd probably get your money back on that car, however. It's just such a nice thing to have. It's one of those I sort of jump into it now and do so many different. If I want to go for a drive, I generally take that car. If I want to go to shows, generally I'll book that one in. Obviously with the SL coming back, that's might change a little bit. And again, the SL might be getting used a little bit more. I know there's a few events I've sort of earmarked the SL for sort of next year. So the SL, so once that gets back, I've sort of touched a little bit on that. It's just mainly going to be getting it sorted. I don't have any plans on selling that car. I think if someone came up and offered me a nice amount of money for it, maybe that would go. Because ultimately that one is a bit more an investment. However, I've sort of not so much blown the budget. I've sort of spent a bit more on that car than I wanted to spend. But I now know it's to properly sort at least the engine part of it. The body side of it's alright, but the engine side of it needs a bit of work. Which again I won't go into on this video. So I think I'm having to think a little bit differently about the SL in the sense that I'm going to put more money into it now. I think I could just about get my money back on it now, but that's not really the idea with that car. The car is to keep it and hopefully it will go up in value as all sort of classic cars generally do. But yeah, I'll talk about it in the next video anyway. Another question I got asked, which is my favourite car. I don't know if I've touched upon this in a previous video. I do like all my cars for very different reasons, and I think it's hard to pick a favourite, which is a bit of a cop-out answer, I know. But the B-Class is just such a useful car, and that's the thing that I just jump in the B-Class all the time. If I'm going out just to do the most mundane, sort of boring chore, that's the car I'll choose. The newer SLK, as much as I don't want to sell that is going because reasons I explained in the previous video. The older SLK, I do really like that car. As I've just said in sort of my last question, that's the one that I sort of go out if I want to go for a nice drive, and that's my sort of go-to car for something a little bit more interesting to drive and to take to shows as well. And I really enjoy driving that car. And as I've mentioned in the last video I did, where I took it out for a drive, it's one that's really grown on me. I didn't love it at first. I think I sort of got to spring and I was a bit umming and ahhing about it, whether I'd done the right thing, whether I just got to get it up to a certain standard and moving on. And it's sort of over this summer I've been using it and taking it for drives, taking it to shows. it's really grown on me to the point where actually I don't really want to sell it anymore. The SL, that's still a bit too much of a new entity for me. I don't know if I love it. I love the idea of I've bought a classic SL. I'm really excited about it, but I haven't actually spent that much time with the car yet. Um, yeah, so I don't know about that one yet. I haven't quite bonded with that car as much as I want to. So that'll probably sort of a more next year job. Probably be like the older SLK. I seem to spend a lot of time working on it, but I haven't yet actually spent any time enjoying it. So that's probably my goal for that car sort of going forward. So yeah, a little bit of a cop out answer there, but I love all my cars for very different reasons. It is so difficult to pick one out. So I think a few people I think were caught a bit off guard with me buying the SL. So I suppose I think my next question that I've sort of come up with myself is why did I buy the SL? Because I think a few people it was a bit of a shock to them that I suddenly bought this SL. And I think people that know me know that is one of my favourite Mercs ever made. I just think the style and the sort of what's the word I'm thinking of? The sort of very 80s sort of excess sort of just the sort of image that car has. I just love it. It's one of my favourite Mercs and probably one of my favourite classic cars out there. And the sort of white one came up at the white colour, white specs, sort of white mileage, white price. And I just couldn't really say no. It's just I sort of went there very much with a bit of a business mind. I've already mentioned it is an investment ultimately. Rather than me investing in bricks and mortar, I'm not really a person that wants to have a holiday home. I don't really want to buy a house to rent because then I'd probably end up with some terrible tenants. Not saying that they're all terrible. I know plenty of people rent houses that are really nice tenants, but I don't know. Having a property was sort of the obvious investment for me. But I just couldn't quite find the right thing and sort of so I have a look around at classic cars and a bit of investment. Um, and the SL just sort of came up my way and everything sort of fitted together and it all worked out and obviously it was meant to be. Now, the next question is, do I regret selling any of my cars? No, I think all the cars I have sold I've sort of been ready to move on from. I had my Abarth, loved that car that for 2.5 years, but by that point I think it was I wanted something different and I wanted something new. And much I like the Abarth, and I still do like the Abarths. And I always say to people, if you get the opportunity to drive one, if you haven't driven one before, do it. Just get in on and drive one, because you won't regret it. My Corsa VXR had tons of problems. I was too glad to get rid of that car. It's the only car I've ever been happy to get rid of. I used to have a little run around for KA. I was actually quite sad about that car. But a change in job, which meant that actually I was only working around the corner from where I lived at the time, meant I didn't really need it. So I'd rather have the money back for it, so I did that. I sort of almost regretted selling that car, but I didn't have a use for it, so it sort of didn't really fit in with what I was doing. The SLK that I'm sort of in the process of selling now, I've sort of feel like I've done that, and I'm sort of ready for the new adventures. I'm ready for the older SLK, and I'm ready more for the SL now. And I think the money I've got in that car, could I possibly invest it a little bit more in sort of doing things the SL and doing things the SLK and put that money towards something else? So next question is, what would be my absolute dream car? Well, I think I've already possibly achieved my dream car in the SL. As I mentioned before, I just love that car. It's one of my favourite cars out there. I think if there was another car, I sort of feel like I've got an itch for an AMG. It's an itch that needs scratching. Whether it be, I'm not too sure what type I would end up getting. I did do a Mercedes-Benz World Experience where we did a C63 and I got to drive an AMG GT. And that AMG GT was something else. I have to admit, driving both those cars back to back, you realise how very different those cars are, even though the engine's the same. So yeah, possibly, and something AMG related would be really nice. The final question I got asked is, what are my plans for this YouTube channel for next year? Very much probably the number one sort of target, another thing I want to do is obviously get stuck into the SL. I know there's been much SL content so far, but that's physically because the car hasn't been with me. I really want to get stuck into that car. Probably the first thing I'm going to be doing is definitely interior clean, also exterior clean as well. There's probably going to be, hopefully going to do a bit of machine polish. We'll see how that goes. Again, same again for the older SLK next year. Again, that I'm going to give that a good clean and might possibly do a machine polish on that as well. There's also me driving in the SL. I know of people who asked know a bit more about the SL, about the way it drives. There's another in-depth tour about that one. And I think just generally I might start doing some shows and drives and just showing you guys what I do with my cars. And I think the whole goal for my channel has always been to show my enjoyment of cars. And so next year I probably want to do a few more maybe vloggy types videos where I take you to a show and show you what's going on, show you some of the cars there. So yeah, that's my sort of goal. I think that's possibly enough to keep me busy. One of my other sort of big targets at the moment as well is to get to 500 subscribers. I'm currently at today for 415. So a lot of things happen when you get to 500. One, you start getting a little bit of ad revenue, so I can start getting a little bit of money for the adverts that you probably see on the channel already. Two, you can do sort of memberships as well, so that might be something I look into. I'm not going to go into too much. I do have a few ideas, other ideas for what happens when I sort of get to 500. I sort of want to do something big to celebrate the fact I'm at 500 subscribers, but I've only really at the idea stage at the moment. So that will be sort of next year hopefully as well, and you'll find out a bit more along the way. I'm also going to be doing some collaborations. As I mentioned, I've been obviously Eddie over in Cambridge yesterday, and we did a little bit of a chat about YouTube, a little bit of a chat about stuff we want to do together. Again, we haven't anything nailed down yet, so hopefully sort of springtime might start getting out and do some filming together, and obviously you'll see the results of that. So if you have any more questions for me, please do put them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer questions and have a chat with people about various things. Please do pop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And please, as I mentioned before, I'm trying to do stuff when I get to 500 subscribers. Please do hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of what I'm doing here. So it's goodbye from me, goodbye from the B class, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.